do a video showing the different postcards, and at the holidays I'll do a video of the holiday cards. I'll give a deadline date for those, but I just want to be able to show everybody where we're all from, and it just connects us so well. So the P.O. Box address will be in the description, okay? And I really look forward to hearing from you guys. Also, this weekend I'll be filming a very special video. I've been picking things up here and there, and I'm very excited to show it to you all. So that should be loading on Sunday. I'm very excited, and it is a role play video. I don't do many of them, but this one I'm excited about. Also, I did hit Fabricland today, and anyone that goes to Fabricland, I don't know if it's all the Fabriclands or just the one I went to, but they were having something called a clean sweep sale. Oh my goodness, things were 75% off. And one of the things I got, I think I told you I use a black sheet as a backdrop sometimes, but I wanted something blue, and I ended up getting a blue drapery panel, and I think it was regular like $70. I don't know, $5, that's it. And I got a few baskets that I'll be using in a future video, so I can't wait to show all that to you guys. But enough of that. We should start our reading video, and this is to help all of you go to sleep. For those of you that are new, I always pick a book. This time we're doing the Celtic Tales. I found one story that we haven't read out of it, and I pick these books because there's not a lot or none illustrations in some of them, and that way I can just read to you. You can close your eyes, just listen to the sound of me reading to you, and drift off to sleep, because that's what this is for, right? So let's get you guys comfortable. First thing I want you to do is get your lighting the way you like it. Whether you like it light or dark, a night light, a little bit of light, bright, whatever you want. Except no lit candles, please. Lit candles when you're trying to sleep, especially if you have furry ones around, it can be very dangerous. But the electric or the battery operated candles, I have some here. Those are great. And then I want you to get comfortable wherever you are, whether it's a couch or a chair, whether it's a hammock or cushions on the floor or your bed. Just get your back into it or your side and just be comfortable, okay? And if you need to be covered up with something, cover up with it, whether it's up to your chin, a big heavy one, thin and light, whatever it is that makes you comfortable, okay? And then we're going to do our breathing. And again, for those that are new, before any relaxation that we do, whether to sleep or to relax or to calm down, we do our breathing. We breathe in through our nose for a count of 4. We gently hold it for a count of 4. And we breathe out through our mouth for a count of 4. Why I like doing that, and we do it 3 times. I believe personally it helps make our brain make the connection between doing the deep breaths and relaxation. It becomes a habit, so that eventually when we're doing it, our brain goes, gotcha, calm down, relax, get ready to sleep, that kind of thing. So feel free to do this whenever. And if you can't do a count of 4, that's okay. If you can only do 1, that's okay too. Whatever makes you comfortable. This is for you, okay? So I just want you to be comfortable, all right? So we're going to breathe in through our nose. 4. Gently hold. Breathe out. Very good. One more time. Gently hold. Breathe out. Breathe in. Gently hold. Breathe out. Excellent. Now, we're going to begin the story. Little White Thorn and the Talking Bird. And it's from Brittany. Okay, close your eyes. Long ago, when the oak trees used in building the oldest boat at Brest were but acorns, there lived a poor widow whose name was Lenore. Her father had been of noble lineage and had had a very large fortune. When he died, he left a manor house, a farm, a mill, an oven where all the villagers paid to bake their bread. He also left 12 horses and twice as many oxen, 12 cows and 10 times that number of sheep, and that's not counting the corn and the fine linens. But as she was a widow, Lenore's brothers would not let her have her share of the inheritance. Peric, the eldest, kept the manor, the farm, and the horses. Fanache, the second, took the mill and the cows. The third brother, Rawal, had the oxen, the great oven, and the sheep. So there was nothing left for Lenore but an old ramshackle cottage on the heath where they usually sent the sick animals. When Lenore was moving her bits of furniture to her poor cottage, Fanache pretended to be sorry for her. "I am going to behave to you as a brother and as a Christian," he said. "I have an old black cow which I have never been able to fatten, and which gives hardly enough milk to feed a newborn babe, but you may take her with you. And White Thorn can keep her on the heath." White Thorn was the widow's daughter. She was nearly 11 years old, and so pale that the people called her by the name of the white hedge flower. So Lenore went away with her little pale daughter, pulling the cow along with a bit of a rope. When they reached the cottage, Lenore sent the girl and the cow out onto the heath together. Every day and all the day long, White Thorn stayed there looking after Blackie the cow. She spent her time making crosses out of broom and daisies while she sang a melancholy air. And poor Blackie had a hard enough time finding a little grass between all of the stones. One day, White Thorn noticed a bird perched on one of the flowery crosses that she had stuck in the ground. The bird was chirping and shaking its head. He looked at her as if he wanted to speak. The girl went nearer to the bird and listened carefully, but she could understand nothing. Still, White Thorn was entranced with the little bird, and she watched it so long that the night began to fall. She forgot about Blackie. At last the bird flew away, and as White Thorn followed him with her eyes, she saw that the stars were twinkling in the sky. Then she looked for Blackie but could not find her. She called, she struck the tufts of brooms with her stick. She went down into the hollows where the rainwater formed little pools, but all was in vain. Blackie was nowhere to be found. At last the child heard her mother calling as if some misfortune had befallen. Frightened, White Thorn hurried towards her, and at the entrance of the field, on the path leading to their cottage, she saw the widow kneeling near Blackie. The wolves from the forest had gotten her, and nothing was left but bones and horns. White Thorn burst into tears and fell on her knees by her mother. At the sight of her daughter's grief, the widow tried to comfort her. "Do not weep for Blackie as if she were a human being, my darling," she said. "Even though the wolves and the bad Christians are against us, heaven will have pity on us. Come, help me pick some firewood, and we shall go home." White Thorn did as her mother said, but tears trickled down her pale, wan cheeks. "Poor Blackie," she said. "She was no trouble to lead about. She ate anything, and she was actually beginning to fatten." That evening, White Thorn would eat no supper, and during the night she awoke again and again, thinking she heard Blackie lowing at the door. Finally, just before daybreak, she was convinced she heard the cow just outside the field. She ran out into the fields barefoot and in her petticoat, but Blackie was not there. As she came near the heath, however, she beheld the same bird she had seen before, perched again on the cross of broom. He was singing and seemed to be calling her, but she understood him no better today than she had the day before. She was about to run home when she looked down. She thought she saw a gold coin lying at her feet. She tried to turn it over with her toe, but it was not a coin. It was the magic herb of gold that you can only see at sunrise if you are barefoot and half-dressed. And if you see it, then the fairies will bestow on you the gift of sight. And so it was. The moment she touched the herb, she understood the language of the bird. White Thorn, I want to do you a good turn, the bird was saying. White Thorn, listen to me. Who are you? Asked White Thorn, very much astonished that she could now understand the bird. I am Robin Redbreast, and each year I am allowed to make a poor girl rich, and this time I have chosen you. Oh, Robin, Robin, cried Whitethorn, will I be rich enough to have a shining silver cross with a shining silver chain to go about my neck, and a pair of wooden shoes for my feet as well? You shall have a golden cross and silken shoes, answered the bird. And what must I do to have that, little bird? Asked Whitethorn. You must follow me wherever I lead you, Robin said. I will, said Whitethorn. And so Robin Redbreast flew off, and Whitethorn went running after him. She followed him across the fields and through the woods until they came to the dunes just opposite the 7 Isles, and there the bird stopped. Can you see anything below on the beach? Asked Robin. Yes, said Whitethorn. I see a wooden staff and a pair of wooden shoes. Put on the shoes and take the staff, said Robin Redbreast. I will, said Whitethorn, running down to the beach. Now, directed Robin, you must walk on the sea until you reach the first island. Then you must go round it until you come to a rock, all hidden beneath the reeds that are the color of the sea. And then what must I do? Asked the girl. You must gather the reeds and make a halter. Well, that should be easy enough, said Whitethorn. And then, with your wooden staff, you must strike the rock as hard as you can until it cracks open. That did not seem so easy, but Whitethorn did as she was told and carried out all of the bird's instructions. With the magic shoes, she walked on the sea to the first island. She went round it until she came to the rock with the sea green reeds. With these she made a halter as the bird had directed. Then, with her wooden staff, she struck the rock as hard as she could. It instantly cracked open like an egg, and out of it clambered a cow, with skin as smooth as a maiden's cheek, and eyes as light as the dawn. She was very gentle, and Whitethorn, delighted, put the halter on her and led her over the water, through the woods, over the fields, across the heath, until they reached the widow's cottage. When Ninor saw the cow, she was the happiest she'd ever been, but she was happier still when she milked the cow, for the milk flowed like the water of a spring. Ninor filled all of her pots and pans, and then filled her wooden bowls, her crocks, her churns, and yet still the milk flowed. It seemed as if the beautiful sea cow, for that is what the talking bird had named her, had milk for all the babes in Brittany. Soon everyone was gossiping about the widow's cow, and people came from far and near to look upon her. The richest farmers offered to buy Sea Cow, and each offered a price higher than the last. At last Parrot came, and he said to his sister, if you are a Christian, you will remember that I am your brother, and you will let me have the first offering. Let me have Sea Cow, and in exchange I'll give you 9 of my own cows. Sea Cow is not only worth 9 cows, answered the widow Ninor, but she's worth all of the cows that are grazing in the highlands and the lowlands. Thanks to her, I shall be able to sell milk in all the marketplaces, from Dinna to Carax. Very well, said Peric. Give her to me, sister, and I will give you our father's farm where you were born, with all the fields and plows and horses belonging to it. Ninor accepted his offer. So they all went to the farm, and after Ninor had dug up a clump of earth in each field, drunk a cup of water from the well, lighted a fire on the hearth, and cut a tuft of hair from each of the horse's tail,
to prove she had become the owner of all of these things. Then she gave Sea Cow to her brother Perik, and Perik led the cow away to a house he had in another quarter of the county. Little White Thorn cried when she saw her dear Sea Cow led away, and she was sad the whole day. When night fell, she went to the stable to put hay in the mangers. The horses seemed to look at her with sympathy. Alas, she sighed, why is Sea Cow not here too? Hardly had she spoken than she heard a gentle lowing, and as she had stepped on the golden herb and knew the language of animals, she understood these words.
Little mistress, here I am again.
Very much astonished, Whitethorn quickly turned. Right behind her stood Sea Cow.
Oh, Sea Cow, who brought you here? She cried.
I do not belong to your wicked Uncle Perik, said Sea Cow, because I cannot belong to anyone. But then, said Little White Thorn, my mother will have to give back the farmhouse, the fields, and the horses. Not at all, answered the Sea Cow. They were hers by right. Her brother took them from her unjustly when your grandfather died. But my Uncle Perik will come to look for you here, said Whitethorn. I will tell you what to do, said Sea Cow.
First go and pick 3 verbena leaves.
Whitethorn quickly ran off and returned with the 3 leaves. Now, said Sea Cow, rub me with those leaves from my ears to my tail, and whisper softly 3 times, Saint Ronan of Hibernia, Saint Ronan of Hibernia, Saint Ronan of Hibernia. Whitethorn did as she was told, and as she whispered for the 3rd time, Sea Cow was transformed into a horse.
The girl was wonderstruck.
Now, said the horse, your Uncle Perik will not know me. My name is no longer Sea Cow, but Sea Horse. When the widow heard what happened, she was delighted, and the very next day she hastened to try her fine new horse. She loaded her back with corn to take to the market, and you can imagine her surprise when she saw Sea Horse's back growing longer and longer the more she piled on sacks of corn, so that she alone could carry as many sacks as all the horses in the parish put together. Now you may be sure that that news spread throughout. When Ynor's brother Fanash heard of it, he came to the farm and asked his sister if she would sell him the horse. She refused, until he proposed to give her in exchange the mill and all the pigs that he was fattening. So the bargain was struck, and Ynor took possession of the mill as she had the farm, and she let her brother lead Sea Horse away. The very next evening the horse was back, and again Whitethorn picked 3 verbena leaves and rubbed her from ears to tail, repeating the words, Saint Ronan of Hibernia, 3 times. No sooner had she done so than the horse changed into a sheep. Instead of white wool, she was covered with scarlet wool, as long as hemp and as soft as flax. Sea Horse was now Sea Lamb. Whitethorn was delighted and called her mother, who came into the stable to admire this new miracle. Go and fetch the shepherd's shears, she said. The poor dear beast is weighed down with such heavy fleece. But when she tried to shear Sea Lamb, the wool grew again as fast as she could cut it off, so that the sheep alone was worth all of the flocks on the mountains. Now Ninor's 3rd brother, Reuel, happened to be passing by, and he saw what was happening. He at once offered to exchange his oxen, his heaths, and all his sheep for Sea Lamb. So the widow gave Reuel the sheep. But as he was leading Sea Lamb away along the shore, suddenly she threw herself into the waves. She swam to the smallest of the 7 isles, and a rock opened to let her pass, and closed again. She was gone. This time Whitethorn waited in vain for her to come home. She came back neither that day nor the next, nor ever again. So the girl ran off to the hawthorn bush to look for the talking bird, and there he was, singing as before. I was expecting you, said the talking bird. Sea Lamb has gone and will never return. Your wicked uncles are punished as they deserve. And now you, my girl, are an heiress. You are rich enough to wear a golden cross and silken shoes, as I promised you. Now my work is done, and I shall fly away. Always remember that you were once poor, and it was a little wild bird that made you rich. And so the talking bird spread its wings and flew away. Whitethorn never saw him again, but out of gratitude she was always kind to animals, especially to the wild birds, and she always gave to the poor.